Great taste. Sweet. Sour. So good to taste.
Welcome to Great Taste. We're here at Green Building Supply as we are every first Tuesday of the month. A little slow on the uptake. Right. You'd think that, I mean, how many years have we been doing this?
We thought you might have another sentence.
Another sentence. Okay. Well, all right. I'll try to remember. But anyway. Okay. So we're here every first Tuesday of the month, and welcome. Thank you all very much for coming. I'm joined by the lovely Lenora Boyle this month, who is going to do all the cooking. So that's I'm really happy about that. Hi.
Hi.
I almost started
Good
to.
evening.
I realize you're mic'd. That's
I
good.
do. I
So
am
we're good.
mic'd.
Jason, Jason Strong is here, our engineer from Fairfield Media Center. I did start to put the mic over toward her, as you told me not to do. So excellent. So anyway, we have a really full show planned for all of you. You're probably watching this on Fairfield Media Center's YouTube channel, so that's where you can find it. And we want to thank Fairfield Media Center for producing this event every month. We also want to thank our sponsors, Green Building Supply, of course, and Everybody's Whole Foods. Green Building Supply obviously supplies the setting, and everybody supplies the food. So there we go. So, thank you. Excellent. So we're featuring asparagus. We do this every spring. It's our annual asparagus show. And those of you who have attended in the past an asparagus show probably realize that we may be even making something that we've made before. And one of the reasons that we're making something that we've made before is simply because after I sent out the announcement about the show, someone responded and said there's only one way to have asparagus, and that's asparagus risotto. So I said, okay, well, I guess we got to make that again, so we will, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
that'll
the best.
be. And yeah, it is. It's really good. So we're going to do that. So we're going to talk a lot about asparagus. We're going to show you. Lenora's going to show you how you prepare asparagus. We're going to show you how the French get a little fancified and prepare asparagus, or you might find it prepared that way in fancy restaurants. And we're also going to, those of you who came earlier had asparagus soup as the amuse-bouche, and those of you who came later can have asparagus soup later. And we're going to, in addition, have, as I said, we're going to have asparagus risotto, and we're also going to, Lenora's going to cook asparagus a very simple way, like the most simple presentation you can imagine, that Patricia Wells, who is an author of many cookbooks, lives in Paris. She's an American, but she's lived in Paris for, I don't know, maybe 3 decades. She told me how this is her favorite way of cooking asparagus because it's so fast and so simple. And ever since she told me that years ago, I just do it all the time during the wonderful 6 to 8 weeks that we have the ability to get local asparagus. And then also, we are lucky enough to get California asparagus for a little bit longer here. So that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
you eat asparagus a
Love
lot
it.
during asparagus
Yeah.
season? I eat it like
Every day.
Yes, every day. Yes,
Yeah.
I rarely miss a day.
Right.
Well, it's great, and it's a really healthy vegetable to eat, and it's got such a wonderful flavor, and it's so reminiscent of spring. It's spring. That's what to me. That's what it's all about. We're also going to be talking about pizza. How many of you might have seen the post that featured a pizza? Anybody? So nobody does social media here. Okay, that's great. What? You saw it. Okay. So you thought we were going to make pizza, or you read it?
No, you were gonna.
You actually read it.
You were gonna review.
Yes, that's excellent, because you know what? You are an anomaly. Most people don't read. And you, John Runkle, read the post and knew that we weren't going to make pizza. I thought it was just a funny way to maybe get a few more people to come, because they think we're going to have pizza. But no, we're going to talk about 5 places that actually Lenora and I and Jay went to recently that are all wood-fired pizza places. Unfortunately, the closest is about an hour and 15 minutes from here. But anyway, we're going to talk about all those places. It's very interesting, our experience at those places. And in addition to that, what else are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about our new products. Every month we feature products that I use regularly in my kitchen. And so we're going to talk about our featured products. So we're going to talk about the next show, which we might as well mention right now. The next show is hold on, I've got it right here. June the 4th, right. And the lovely Kathy Dubois will be here. And yes, so excited that she's going to be here for her annual visit. And she said, I'm coming to these dates. I said, great, you won't miss the show. You can be on. So she was very thrilled. Kathy's favorite lines are, don't make me cook too much. So I have to see what I can do. Oh, and since I just see Shelley Grasson walking in, I want to tell everybody that on May the 9th on IPTV, you can watch her son, Jake, who is one of the owners of Old Capitol Foods, right? Old Capitol Foods, and they make tofu, right, which we've featured on the show before, and Jake's been here. He's on IPTV's Iowa Ingredient, and Chef Katie Meyer from the Trumpet Blossom Cafe in Iowa City is going to be featured cooking, I guess, different tofu dishes. So that's great. And it's on at 6:30. Great. And if you're a member, you can watch it whenever you want. So I suggest that you think about that. Anyway, has anybody been to the Trumpet Blossom here? Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's not bad. I like their tempeh Reuben. Do they make a tofu Reuben? I've never seen that on the menu, but they must have other tofu dishes. Anyway, tempeh Reuben's pretty good. Yeah, something to think about. All right, and we also have, last but not least.
How long is the show?
I don't know. It's getting longer every second. I hope Jason's got a good battery there. Yeah. Laura Cohn, the executive director of the Lord's Cupboard, one of the most amazing organizations in this entire community for Jefferson County, is here, and we're going to be talking about a very special event that's going to benefit the Lord's Cupboard that's coming up on June 1st, which is the screening of the movie Aranjarsi. And so we're going to get to that in a few minutes. So I guess we better get going because there's a lot happening,
yes.
Right?
Wow.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the Fairfield Farmers Market, because the first outdoor market was on Saturday, and the market will be outdoors from, that's your cue, guys. And the market will be outdoors from the first Saturday in May through October, right?
The end of October.
The end of October, right? Please come on over. And also Wednesdays, right? The same thing. So this is Steve McClaskey. Hi.
Hi. Can't touch it.
Did you actually start to reach for that?
Yes.
I'll hold his hands back.
All right.
Luckily, you're only on once a year, so that's good.
That's right. Maybe twice.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Well, we'll think about that.
If I remember to come.
People say that they watch this show, and I find it so funny. I just get such a kick out of it. It's very wholesome, I think, actually.
Yeah. So the farmers market is outside from the first Saturday in May until the last market day in October, whether that is a Wednesday or a Saturday.
Oh, okay.
So starting with the first Saturday in May, we have a market on Wednesday afternoon from 3 until 6, and Saturday morning from 8 until 1.
Okay. And I hope all of you go to the market. It's amazing always, just all kinds of great stuff there. And I noticed that there was a little bit more food this first Saturday, which was great. Barb decided that she needed to expand the food offerings at the market, so that's really nice. Back to basics. That's Barb, and she had a whole lot of food, and she's got her kids. I see she's got labor there that is cheap and free, and actually she made a really cool arrangement with them. She buys all the ingredients, and they make all the food, or she makes the food, buys the ingredients, and all they have to do is pay her back for the ingredients, and they get to keep everything else. And I wish somebody had made those kind of arrangements with me. That's excellent, right? Isn't that good? This is Chris Johnson, and what are you doing here?
I'm the farm manager at the MUM Regenerative Organic Training Farm.
And you guys do the farmers market?
Yes, yeah. I work closely with Steve. We have a stand there every week, year-round, right, Steve?
Yes.
Yeah, every Saturday, at least every Saturday. The students attend, they go with Steve. It's good for the farm. We make money that we reinvest into the training farm, and it's good for the students because they get the experience of how to sell their produce.
And it's good for the consumer because the consumer gets great produce,
That's right.
and that's for sure. It's always one of my stops. So.
Yeah, let me mention, we grow great produce at the farm. So,
So do you have anything, you want to just tell us about like the regular selection, and if there's anything exciting also coming along that maybe we're not used to seeing?
Oh, I mean, we're coming out of the winter season, so a lot of leafy greens. A lot of our greenhouse stuff is turning over to tomatoes, cucumbers, things like that. So those are another month or two away. What we have coming on now are some really nice salad mixes. We're doing fresh arugula, baby kale, baby chard, full-size kale, full-size chard, of course. We have some lettuce heads, a mesclun mix, which is looking really good this year. Very excited about that one. We have carrots coming up already, peas. Steve, am I missing anything?
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we still have chard and kale and baby chard and carrots from the winter. And the other things will be coming in the next few weeks.
I love all the baby stuff. It's just so sweet and tender, right?
Yeah, deliciously tender. Yeah, that's what I fell in love with when I started growing on my own, growing the baby leaf stuff. It's fun and it tastes so good.
So tell us a little bit about this program. How many students do you have in it? Where are they from? And what are they actually doing?
Well, we have 8 students this year, and it's a really good group. They're really excited to get their hands dirty, which is more than I can say for some students who come out to the farm.
And what do they, wait, just hold on one second. What do they think they're going to do then if they're going to work on a farm?
That's a really good question. I haven't had a good answer, but these students have figured it out already. They're going to work, and I've made that pretty clear. You know, whatever they want to do is Friday, Saturday night. They show up on Monday, they should be ready to work. So they're out there. That's good. We just finished our finished our first week with them. Went really well. We're just kind of going through the trainings of this is how you do this. This is where this tool goes. It's monotonous for us, but mind-blowing for some of them, which is fun. And it's great to have a little more company on the farm. It's nice to pass on the skills, see them pick it up. They appreciate it. That's pretty cool. So they actually go through a couple months of classroom training. They have a couple classes, one of which Steve is a part of, and the other one is a soil science. So there's a practical class teaching kind of what's going to happen on a farm, and then a soil science class that they go through to learn some more of the chemical, biological, and physical properties of soil. And then they spend 6 months on the farm with us, where we apply that knowledge and teach them a whole lot more. We keep it very practical on the farm. We tell them what the ideal is, what we would like to happen, but very rarely does the ideal actually happen. So it's almost every time I do something, I'm just waiting for who's going to point out, no, that's not what you said. That's not how it's supposed to go, right? Like, well, no, it's not because it depends, and they're already starting to figure it out. So.
Yeah, because nature doesn't necessarily do what you want nature to do, right?
No. And that's part of the fun, right?
You got to weave in and out, right?
Yeah.
You got back and forth. Okay, that's great. Well, thank you guys so much. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Yes, you might be interested that we're planting twice as much ginger as we usually plant.
I am very interested. I'm very happy. These guys grow fresh ginger that comes along in the fall, right? And it's just fantastic because it's harvested really young and it's so delicious, so clean tasting, and has enough pungency to it and potency. And so that is really good. They never have enough. I still have some in the freezer.
And also this year we're trying something new. We're going to be growing turmeric. So in the fall we'll also be selling fresh turmeric.
Fantastic. Those are good,
that's good.
great additions. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Okay, thank you guys. All right, take care. All right, we'll see you at the farmer's market. All right. So, let's see. Have you started anything yet? Oh, look, the broth is boiling away here. So maybe I should tell people a little bit about what we're doing here when I figure out how to turn that down. Okay. So when we're making risotto, we're making it with a broth that I actually made at home earlier today because it's just nicer. It tastes better when you make homemade broth.
And how did you make it?
How? That's kind of nosy, but okay. So
You think they'd like to know?
Yeah, probably. Anyway, so with asparagus, you have to be a little careful because asparagus is not, it's not a very strong type of ingredient. It's very subtle vegetable. So you don't want to overwhelm it with other flavors. So the one thing that I try to do is I try to use as much asparagus as possible. So when Matter of fact, if you want to show people this right now, when you actually prepare asparagus, you have to do something to the end of it. And it's really simple, and Lenora can show you exactly
Oh, you mean what we did for the broil?
No, to break the woody end off.
Oh.
So that you can show them just how they do it, you know?
Like this. And then you eat it.
No, you don't eat it. Then you put it in the water to make broth.
The end.
The end, right? You put the end in the water to make broth.
I even save some, always.
You save it for what?
I freeze some
Oh, okay. To use it for.
for broth.
Oh,
another
okay,
time,
for broth.
yeah.
Good, yeah. So in this broth, there's shallots. There are the asparagus ends, right? Which I cut, by the way. I don't just put them in whole because I think that the flavor is more available when I get to cut it. And there's a little carrot, and there's some celery, and there's parsley, and there are bay leaves, and salt, and a little bit of pepper. There's plenty of seats if you want to come. You just have to duck in front of the camera, Carol, that's all. Anyway, so that's what's in here, and I let it cook for several hours, and then I strained it, and it's forming the basis of this risotto. Because what's going to happen is the rice is going to absorb this broth. So you want that broth to be as flavorful as possible, because otherwise, well, that's just adding an extra element to your flavor, right?
Yeah.
And Lenora and I were talking earlier, I usually like to add white wine to that broth too, but I didn't have any, so I didn't add it. So you could add it to the broth. You could also add it when you're cooking. Those are a couple of different things to do.
What's the ratio between broth and asparagus?
So it's really has to do with how many people you're going to serve. The question was, what's the ratio between broth and asparagus? Usually you're going to need about, so if I'm making risotto for 6 people, I'm going to need 2 quarts of broth. And then I'm probably going to use about 1.5 pounds of asparagus. A pound would get me through. And I like to make a little bit more, so you'll have a little bit left, even if you have big eaters, because I love to make risotto cakes, which is where you take the leftover risotto and you make it into patties, and you just put it into a pan with some olive oil or some clarified butter, and cook it up and throw some fresh basil and Parmesan on top, and it's super. So if you eat risotto for lunch, then you can have risotto cakes for dinner. So it's really nice that way. Anyway, so that's what's going to happen. So now you know that. Now, if you want to see, one other thing that Lenora wants to show you is sometimes some of the asparagus depends on where, when you get it, where it's from, that kind of thing. Some of the asparagus stalks can be tough. And so what you can do for aesthetic purposes, it's done in France, for example, and I'm sure it's done other places, is you can actually peel the asparagus stems. You don't even have to go all the way up, but just near to the bottom.
But these are so tender.
And these aren't good examples because they're tender, but you can peel, you can peel the stems, and that way those peels can go into the broth, and then you're going to end up with, this is, perfect, because then you're going to see, you'll get down to the white part of the asparagus stem, and then it'll be tender all the way through when you cook it. So that's just another way to make sure that when you cook it, people aren't going to end up with asparagus strings in their teeth. So it's always fun at a dinner party.
Everybody has strings hanging out of their mouth.
I'll participate that way. It's really fun. All right, so I think that we're going to get started on cooking the risotto in just a little bit. Not yet, but I want to tell you what she's going to do with this particular simple style of French cooking, because it's just so, we're probably not going to get time to talk about it while it's going on, so I'm just going to tell you right now, it's really simple. All you're doing is you're taking a pan and you're putting a little bit of water in it, and you're putting some bay leaves. I like to use fresh bay, but we don't have any in the area right now, so I had to use dried bay leaves. And then we're just going to take the asparagus, you're going to take it whole. This is already washed. And it's just going to go into the pot just like that, with some salt, some pepper, and a little bit of olive oil. And that's it. You're just going to cook it. You're going to boil it up. It's going to be simmering.
Do you want to wait on that also?
Yes, but it's, at least they know that's what's going to happen to it. And it'll take like 5, 6, 7 minutes, depending upon how you like your asparagus. If you like it California style, it takes less time. If you like it well cooked, then it takes longer. But just remember, if you like it well cooked and to also look pretty, you have to be really careful, because when you let it go a little too long, it becomes gray, right? So that's not really fun. Like the soup, you see how pretty that still is? Can they see that, Jason? Not really. How about that? Yeah. So the soup is really green because I didn't cook it very long. Because A, it looks a lot nicer than gray soup, and B, it has more grassy taste to it. Then it's kind of nice for soup like that.
How long do you think you cooked it?
The soup? Mm-hmm. The asparagus, I probably cooked it for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. You know, I actually picked up some of the stalks and, you know, felt them to make sure that I felt they were cooked long enough. You know, they weren't stiff as boards still. All right, so they had some flexibility in them. So but that's all you need to do to cook this particular style. And when it's finished, you just take the tongs, take it out, put it on the plate. If you want to fancy it up a little bit, you can put a little bit more salt and pepper, like some finishing salt on it would be nice. Some lemon zest would be really great to perk it up a little bit. That'd be really fun. We've got lemon zest to put in our risotto. And that's it, you're done. And a lot of times I don't put anything on it. I just love to eat it just plain, totally plain. It's really, really, really good that way. All right, I think let's visit with John Broom, I think. So John is here from London. I wish I was in London, but he's here, and I think he's happy to be here. So John has a very interesting take on the energy bar section, we'll say, that's in all the natural food stores, in the regular stores, in the convenience stores, everywhere, all over the place. And so come on over, because I can't come over there. So
Should I bring it over?
I don't think it's gonna. You can bring over a bar or two so you can tell people about it. It's just the camera's only gonna pick up the top, but that'll be good. So come on in and tell us exactly what in the heck are you doing, because you're gonna have to get a little bit closer, because. All right. So what is going on here?
Well, what we have here are 3 nutritional bars based on the principles of Ayurveda. Now, Ayurveda is probably the oldest healthcare system in the world, originating in India, and a sister discipline of yoga. And it describes everyone as being comprised of 3 qualities, Vata, Pitta and Kapha. And Vata's quick, thin and light and lively and movement, Pitta's transformation and Kapha's structure. And each one of us is a unique mix of these 3 qualities. I'm Pitta Vata. Vatas tend to be thinner, they have a high metabolic rate, they like a nibble in the afternoon, and when out to balance they worry. Pittas...
And they talk fast like that too, I think.
Pittas are usually charming and focused, and they like to win.
That's me.
But when out of balance, they can get impatient and hot-headed and ulcers.
That's me.
And Kaphas are the bigger frame, tend to be more stable, caring and supportive, and patient, and have immense stamina. And Vatas like...
That's me too.
Foods. Pittas like bitter and sweet foods, like basil and apples are astringent, they're good for Pitta. And Kaphas, they tend to like spicy food, they sleep like a log, and they've got immense stamina, but sometimes they can feel a bit low if they don't get enough exercise. So that's good for them. And that means curries often, and they can survive for a whole 7 hours without something sweet, which Vatas and Pittas can't.
Interesting. Now, so what are you doing then with, how is this working with this particular concept? Because everybody's familiar with energy bars, everybody's familiar with, you know, snack bars, that type of thing. So what's the difference in the take here?
These have been designed in collaboration with an Ayurvedic practitioner who was a GP in Ireland, who's Dr. Brennan, and he has given guidelines to me, and I've been mixing them and testing them with people, for things to put in them. And in this case, almond and cinnamon's good, and some spices, which are from India mostly, ashwagandha and shatavari are 2 in this only. In this one, fennel and coconut are good because they're both cooling, and this has mangistha and Amla and Arjuna, and if you look at them on the internet, they're well known. One example is an amla is a gooseberry bush, and it's the bark of the tree, bark of the shrub. And in the case of kaffir, that's spicy with ginger, long pepper, and a little bit of lemon. And that includes arjuna and moringa and manjista. But those spices have a nourishing quality, but also a balancing effect. And the other thing that Ayurveda says is it's really good to experience all 6 tastes in a meal: sweet, sour, bitter, astringent, salty, and pungent. And this bar has all 6 tastes, and people tend to find it really satisfying. They feel like it's had a very pleasing effect on them. And for a Vata type who's often restless, it slows them down straight away because the sense of taste affects the mind and emotions immediately.
What I like about the whole idea is that, I mean, I'm not a big energy bar type of person, but what I love to do, because I think it's important, is when I take a trip anywhere, I want to make sure that I have something with me in case I need, a little bit, a little something, right? So I always, I don't really like any of them. So I look and I just try to take something that I feel like is going to be enough to hold me over, or if I'm on a long plane flight and I know I don't want to eat the food that's on the plane or whatever, I don't have time to get anything. And so what I loved about this whole concept was, okay, here's a energy bar, but it's designed to give you a little bit more balance, give you a little bit more strength based on your constitution. And I love that whole idea.
It's personalized. The people who tend to be thinner with higher metabolic rate traditionally like this. They tend to like this one. They're drawn to this one, and cinnamon and almonds good for them, and it's satisfying. And the Vata types are the ones that need a nibble in the afternoon, so this is a great nibble. And Pitta's good to be cooled and slowed down, and this does that. Fennel is cooling, and coconut is good. And it's got some other flavours. It's got sultanas and raisins, and some nuts. Sorry, seeds. This one's got almond in.
So you actually are selling these in Great Britain right now at grocery stores or natural food stores, right?
We are. We're selling them online and in natural food stores. We're only just promoting these in America for the last 6 weeks, and we're looking to be in lots of places. And I did a sampling session in a store in Iowa City called
Red
Garden Market. And people were really enthusiastic to learn about their mind-body type, which you can do from a really quick and simple questionnaire. And then you turn it over, and if your score is 5 Vata, 3 Pitta, 2 Kapha, you are a Vata Pitta type. And when they read that, they go, my goodness, that's so me. And they tend to like the bar. And there's another piece of literature that's got a little bit of write-up on each of the ingredients, again by Dr. Brennan. For instance, Indian ginseng, the best Ayurveda tonic for resilience to stress, enhancer of strength, and good for men. But the point is that people like the bar and they feel better straight away, and they learn a little bit more about how to maintain their own health when they read some tips for staying in balance and other little information about Ayurveda.
It's awesome. Thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck and getting into this marketplace. And
They do.
And we can.
They have it.
And this is it. Is this at everybody's Whole Foods also?
It's in everybody's.
That's enough. We don't need any more. That's fine. So it's in everybody's. So that's great. Okay. You can give everybody stuff after the show. It'll be perfect. Yeah. That's why they all come.
right.
They don't come to hear us. They come to eat. So this is like perfect,
Thank you.
afterwards. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much. It's been wonderful.
Okay. All right. So let's see. I think that what we should do is we should talk about pizza. So
Sure.
before we talk about pizza, in
After
terms of-
Ayurveda, we talk about pizza.
right. That makes perfect sense.
Balance.
Right. It certainly balances me, I'll tell you that much. So there's on June the 1st, there's going to be a screening, 2 screenings actually, of a travelogue called Aranjarsi. And Aranjarsi, right, or The Art of Living, and it specifically refers to Naples, because this is a travelogue about Naples, about pizza in Naples, where pizza was born many hundreds of years ago. And the gentleman who made this travelogue spent 8 years doing it. He ate over 300 pizzas in Naples. He traveled there many, many times. And he's going to be here. The showing is going to be at the Orpheum. He's going to be here to answer questions at the end of each of the 2 showings. So we'll have a question and answer session with him. Matteo Troncone is his name. So he's a good Italian. And it's going to be like, it's really a special event, because right before he gets here, he's going to be in Chicago at the Music Box Theater, which is a very iconic theater in Chicago, and doing this. And right after he leaves here, he's going to Los Angeles to show the film for a week at this group of theaters there that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head, but I remember reading it says it's where Oscars are born or something like that. So who knows? Maybe we're in on something. We'll see what happens. But this is June 1st, Saturday, June the 1st. And the really great thing about it, the best thing about it, besides getting to watch it, is that it's going to be benefiting the Lord's Cupboard. And Laura Cohen, who's the executive director of the Lord's Cupboard, is with us. And first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And it's really exciting to have you talk a little bit about the Lord's Cupboard, because it's a very specific program that the funds are going to benefit.
Yeah, well, thank you, first of all, for your idea of making it a fundraiser for the Lord's Cupboard. It's so exciting. I actually finally watched the trailer for it today, and that made me even more excited about seeing this film. It's going to be so much energy in it, so many characters. I love it. So the proceeds from the showings are going to come back to the Lord's Cupboard, and I will use them specifically for a summertime program that we offer at the Lord's Cupboard, which is called the LOAF program. It's an acronym that stands for Lord's Outreach Assisting Families. So the LOAF program is specifically meant to help parents feed school-age children while they're home during the summer. So if you think about those school kids who need the reduced price or free breakfasts and lunches during the school year, that doesn't exist as much during the summer. There's a little of it, but not as much. So we do what we can. We offer a little, very small Hy-Vee voucher to those families each week that is good for specific kid-friendly foods that have some nutritional value to them. And then we offer them just a little sack of kid-friendly foods each week as well. So that's all summer break long that we offer that, and that's what the proceeds will go toward.
And I don't know if everybody's familiar with this, because I actually, when I found out about this, because Christy Welsh, who's on the school board and was helping us prep before the show, told me that actually the exact percentage is 49.9% of the kids who attend the Fairfield School District qualify for this type of assistance. And it's even hard for me to talk about, actually, because it's just, I can't even believe that this occurs today. But anyway. Maybe you can talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's true. It is right at 50% of kids in the Fairfield School District who do qualify financially for the free and reduced price breakfasts and lunches at school, which is a fantastic thing that those are available. But it's a sad thing that there are so many people who are below that income line, and we get that a lot at the Lord's Cupboard. We have a daily food pantry at the Lord's Cupboard. We're open every weekday afternoon for people living in Jefferson County who need food assistance and who have incomes under a certain amount. And a lot of times when I'm talking to folks about the Lord's Cupboard, they say, people here are hungry? Really? We're in the breadbasket. How can that be? But they are. There's underemployment. There are medical issues. There's all kinds of different things that cause people to get into that situation.
So we're going to give everyone an opportunity to help in numerous ways. One, you can buy tickets, whether you can come or not, after the show. We're going to be selling tickets. And I highly advise you to buy tickets, because I'm not sure how much longer they're going to last, because we've had some terrific corporate support already. And Everybody's Whole Foods is the lead sponsor for the event. And so we want to make sure that, all the sponsors, if you can, when you see somebody from any of these places, if you tell them, how much you appreciate, what they're doing, that's great. So we're really excited about that. And also, Green Building Supply is one of the sponsors. Breadtopia is another sponsor for the event. And I know I'm missing somebody right now. Who else? Okay, I better think, because otherwise I'm going to be in big trouble. And we actually, there is another sponsor who so far hasn't told me whether they wanted, some people are shy, they don't want to know, right? But we've had some great corporate support already, and Lenora and I have been working on this, and we have a lot of people that we're going to be twisting their arms pretty soon, because we haven't heard back from them, but we'll be doing that. And so what we're doing is, it's kind of interesting. So just to make sure it's all clear, 50% of the proceeds are going to the Lord's Cupboard Loaf program in the original ticket sales, because we have to pay for Matteo to come here, we have to pay for the film, we have to pay for the facility at the Orpheum. 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock, by the way, are the 2 showings. And then there's going to be another little wrinkle. We're giving everyone an opportunity to donate all the tickets back to us, and then we can resell them again. It's our own little Ponzi scheme. And in the second sale, I really figure we could do that over and over again, actually. But in our second sale,
above and beyond the one that you're going to use to come to see the movie,
right? Exactly.
The documentary.
So all $10. So the tickets are $10 each. So it's very reasonable. But anyway, all $10 of the second sale then goes back to the Loaf program. So we want to sell out both of those showings twice, at least. That's exactly what we want to do. So right now, we just started this week, actually. We saw a few people. We sold about 140 tickets, so we've already sold out one of the showings and part of the second one. And if you know of anyone who is in business and would like to support something like this, we'd love for you to talk to Lenora afterwards and tell her who to contact, or if you want to contact them. And of course, we hope that all of you will buy 5 or 10 tickets each too, and you give back the ones that you don't want to use for yourself. So this is what's happening, and we're really excited about it. And we're so happy that so many, that Breadtopia and Green Building Supply and everybody's Whole Foods have stepped up already to be a part of this whole thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Everybody's is actually very supportive of the Lord's Cupboard every week. I get some donations from them, so I'm appreciative of them.
Yeah, that's great. And in addition to that, I also want to say that the 2 showings that we're going to have all the tickets will be available at Home Store. So after tonight, starting I hope by Thursday or Friday at the latest, tickets will be there at Home Store, at the at-home store. And again, they're $10 a piece, $12 at the door, so you don't want to do that. Though, of course, more money will go to the Lord's Cupboard then if you'd like. But I really don't think we're going to have any tickets left by that time. So,
and we have some tonight.
Right, and we have some tonight. Right, exactly. So thank you so much for all the work that you do. It's just really inspiring, and we're really excited to be part of this.
Well, as you know, it's a lot of fun to feed people, so it's a good job.
Yes, it is. Everybody who comes here knows that, too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
Okay.
You want to turn this on?
Yeah. So this is the good news right now. It's time to turn the fire on underneath the risotto pot, because we're going to want that to be finished cooking a few minutes after we wrap up the show, because we don't want it to be finished ahead of time, simply because we're using arborio rice in this. You can't use regular rice to cook risotto because of the process itself is very specific. What you're going to be doing is Lenora's going to be toasting that rice, and then she's going to, after it's toasted, she's going to start to add a ladle full of broth at a time, and the rice is going to absorb it, and she's going to continue stirring it quite often, and that's going to break down the starches on the outside and create a creaminess. But that's why you have to use a very specific type of rice to do that. Now, arborio is the rice that is most easily found in our stores, and everybody carries arborio from California. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're using. But if you do a little bit more research and you get an opportunity to find some of the other varieties that are used, such as Carnaroli or Vialone Nano, definitely make a risotto with those and see if you notice a difference. The major difference in my particular experience, which isn't that great, but it's something, is that when it comes time for seconds, there's still, and there's always room, right, for seconds, right? John, you're smiling. I know that you feel the same way I do. And so when it comes time for seconds, there's still that al dente quality to the rice with carnaroli or with Violoni Nano. So it still has that a little bit of texture to it. Whereas the arborio, if you don't eat it right, take it off, serve it right when it's ready, it can get a little soft when it's time for seconds. So that's why we have to be really careful with it, and that's just something that you want to do. You want to taste as you're going along so you can get an idea of the consistency and kind of get a feel for how long it's going to take to get it to cook through. And the other important part about this cooking process is that you need to salt at the beginning, salt in the middle, and then salt at the end. So you cannot, if you don't do that, you can't get the salt level right at the end because it's not going to absorb into the rice. You have to you have to consider a lot of elements because the broth has salt in it, and as it cooks, it's going to concentrate more. And then as the rice cooks, it's going to concentrate more. So you have to be a little bit, careful. You don't have to be too careful, but just a little bit careful just to understand the process so that as you're working through that, you want to make sure that your salt level is going to be right at the end. You can always take care of it a little bit if you need to by doing a little bit of flaky sea Malden or something on top if you need to at the end if you didn't quite get it right. But the one thing that I believe is the most extraordinary, and I've said this before on the show, I think, the most extraordinary thing about cooking risotto for me is that, and I don't know how you feel about it, but it's an intimate experience because you spend so much time with it.
You can't leave.
Right.
Don't leave.
You don't leave. And so all that fun and attention and goodness goes right into that. And then people light up when they eat it. It's just great. And it's a wonderful dish to make when you want to really just pour yourself into something. It's really, really nice to do that with risotto. So it's great. There are, you can read, like, I think there are books out there that will tell you, it's not necessary to do anything like that. And you know what? They're right. I mean, the actual physical nature of cooking it doesn't require you to do it. Yeah, maybe the texture is better, possibly if you're spending all that time. Maybe the creaminess is a little bit more or whatever. But the point is that it probably, I think Kenji Lopez, who's written The Food Lab, I think he said that he found in all of his studies that it really wasn't necessary to do that. But they're missing the crucial element. They just totally glossed over that crucial element of attention and all the energy that you put into it and what that means when you serve it to the people who are going to enjoy it. So don't listen to the scientists. Listen to the noni. Right.
So we just have shallots and ghee in here right now.
Yeah, we have
chopped up shallots.
Chopped up shallots and clarified butter ghee, because it doesn't, it has a much higher smoke point, so you don't have to worry about the butter at all.
Aromatherapy.
That is real aromatherapy. That's so good. And I love shallots because they're a little bit more subtle and they're also a little bit more complex, I think, than regular onions. But you can use white onions, yellow onions, red onions, whatever you like, as far as that's concerned. And really what would be fun right now is if you get your hands on some spring garlic, that would be great to put in there. But we have, where is that? We have, we have roasted garlic that we're going to put in there. Well, you can put some in now if you want, or put it in at the end, however you want to do it. But, last couple of minutes or a little bit now. Wait. Yeah, however you want to do it. And then the
Steve roasted the garlic first.
Yeah, and when you roast the garlic, it makes it sweeter. So it's really nice to use because it really mellows it out. And the way you do it is you just take it, cut the top off of the head, and put it in a piece of tin foil, cut the top off the head, put some salt, some pepper, a little bit of olive oil, wrap it up, put it in the oven, let it bake for 35 minutes at 325. You bring it out, and you can tell when it's done because the cloves they'll squeeze. When you squeeze it, they'll be soft, right? That's all you have to do. Just squeeze it and it's soft, and it's really, really nice. So, you know what we better do? We better talk about pizza, right?
Talk about pizza.
So let's talk about pizza, because pizza maybe could be my favorite topic, actually. I'm not sure. We had the opportunity to kind of do a little taste testing. We called it a pizza crawl recently. And we went to 5 places. We went to Marquee in Coralville, which is in the Iowa River Landing area. We went to Maggie's Farm, which is on Melrose. We went to Rusciano's, which is in North Liberty. We went to Red Vespa, which is in Solon. And we went to Lincoln Wine Bar in Mount Vernon. And we did that all in a about 7-hour period, right? Yeah. And we had the same pizza at every place, right? Pizza margherita, because if you're going to, right? I mean, you can't get different. Yeah, you can't get different pizzas in different places. You have to get the same thing. Yeah. So we got pizza margherita. Pizza margherita, for those of you who may not know, is just tomato sauce, mozzarella, and basil. That's it. And there's nothing else to it. Now, the interesting thing about all these places, there are a lot of things that are really interesting actually about them. They're all really, they have various degrees of seriousness, but they are really all serious about what they're doing, which is, it was inspiring, I thought. It was really inspiring to go to all these spots and to listen. We got the chance to talk with all of the, we didn't get a chance to talk with the owners at Marquee because it's a little bit different. It's a corporate type of place. But they were really kind. They printed out a whole sheet. I had like 10 questions that I asked everybody, and I sent them out ahead of time. And they printed out a whole sheet that had answers to everything in it. How high, how hot is the floor of your oven generally? How hot is the dome of your oven? What kind of flour do you use? How do you ferment your dough? What kind of tomatoes do you use for your sauce?
They were all wood-burning ovens from Italy.
They were all wood-burning ovens, and they were, you can tell how serious these people were because of the amount of money they spent on these ovens. I mean, these ovens are real. I mean, there's Pavesi, I think Pavesi from Modena, which I think one person had that. Somebody had, 2 people I think had Stefano Ferrara from Naples, which is, he's maybe the most famous oven maker. Cunto, another one had from Naples. So I mean, these are serious hunks of brick.
Yeah.
and they have like, I mean, underneath the stone that's on the floor, they have like almost I think they have, some of them have over 2 feet of sand and for insulation and everything. So it's quite extraordinary, really. And so we got to learn a lot about all this stuff. And so you guys, we have a great opportunity around here because you can go to all these places and they're all really good. We're not going to say, one's this and one's that, because taste is personal. And everybody's going to have different ideas of what works for them. And I think that we all found good things at all the places. And most of them are restaurants, so there's other things to eat there too, in addition to pizza. But it's fun. It's like at Red Vespa, there's a Red Vespa. If you know what that is, it's a little motor scooter, and it's like a real one, and it's up on the shelf or platform that they built for it. Yeah. And there's a really cool pizza bar where you can sit at the bar and watch everything that's going on, which is really fun. So they all have their own things. Now, Maggie's Farm, those guys, I think didn't they try like 20 different varieties of tomatoes before?
Yes, that's what he said.
Yeah, before they decided which ones they were going to use. And somebody at the table said...
But didn't they all use San Marzano?
No, they don't. Their tomatoes come from California.
Oh,
yeah,
but not San Marzano, because that's just Italy.
Right, and so we'll call it San Marzano. Oh gosh, this is getting too done.
Can you put that down?
Yeah, I will. Well, we gotta keep a look here. These cooks are getting out of control.
Take it off for a minute.
Yeah. So you want to add your rice though?
Yeah, I'm ready.
That's probably a good idea. I think we could use.
Is it down to 5?
Yeah, I think we could use a little bit, maybe a little bit more than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, another cup maybe. They'll eat it, won't you guys? Probably. Yeah. Shouldn't worry about it.
So that was probably 3 cups.
That was, but I think it's a little bit more.
Cup.
Right, a little bit more. So Lenore's going to toast that right now. But we got to get back to the pizza.
Let's put another cup.
So there was always something, at Maggie's Farm, and somebody said, "Oh, well, where do you get your tomatoes, or what kind do you use?" And all the light fixtures have tomato cans on it. So you can see they're right there. That's the tomato brand that they use. And I think Lincoln Wine Bar, which many of you have probably been to in Mount Vernon, they have this gorgeous oven. It's a Stefano Ferrara. It's absolutely gorgeous. So a lot of these ovens, they all have beautiful stonework on the outside. It's wonderful. And So it's just really nice. You can go and just see the little bit of differences. You know, like all of them except one make their own mozzarella. But what does that mean? They all get curd from somewhere. They don't make their curd. They all get curd from somewhere. I think that Marquis gets their curd from Wisconsin. And I think there might have been another restaurant
one.
that also got their curd from Wisconsin. And then there's another interesting element, which is, for me, is very interesting. And that is that at Rusciano's, you have somebody from Naples who's actually making this pizza, Gennaro Rusciano. And when we were there, he also happened to have his uncle there, who came, I thought, to check up on him. I wasn't sure, you know, because it seemed like his uncle was gone. He was visiting, but he seemed like he was in charge of what was going on.
Yeah.
You know, it seemed like he was like, "No, I'll make the pizza." You know, and the thing about Gennaro that I loved watching was his hands. I loved watching his hands. You know, I loved seeing how he handled the dough. Actually, it's fun to do that everywhere. Watch how people handle the dough and see what works for you. I think it's kind of like John Broom. I think that's kind of like you can watch and see what kind of different types of people there are in terms of their body types by how they handle dough, because dough is something so intimate. Working with dough is an intimate activity, and I think it's kind of fun. I just thought about that. I think that's something I'm gonna look more into that.
We want to put the butter in later.
We're gonna put that butter in at the end.
Yes,
I'm gonna tell
at the
you
end.
exactly how we're gonna
Okay,
do
I'm going to
it.
start putting the
Putting the broth in.
broth in.
Okay,
It's hot.
that sounds good. I think we're gonna have to turn it up though now that
Yeah,
you're,
now it can
now
go
that
to
you're doing
7
that.
again.
So let's go right
And
up there.
Gennaro said he has a relationship with the dough. He talks to the dough.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see him handling it, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's real.
It was a romantic relationship.
Yes.
It was really very, very interesting and fun. So those guys are all great. They're all really passionate about what they're doing, and so I highly recommend taking some time and just going and hanging out and talking to people and seeing what they're doing. Whatever restaurant you go to, it's always good to see how engaged the people are that are running the place. And I'm going to make a chart actually, but I haven't. It's going to take some time because I have to figure out how to make a chart. So if anybody knows, you can tell me, and then I'll be one step ahead. So I will put all those little differences in there, in terms of the oven temperature and where the oven came from and all these kind of things. It's really fun. So, no, I said I wasn't. Somebody just asked what my favorite was. I said I wasn't going to answer that because, everybody has to determine that themselves. So they were all good, yeah. Yeah, they were all good. They all had different qualities,
Just
right?
refine nuances.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then it depends what works for you, in terms of that kind of thing. Because it was funny, one of the places that maybe some of the people didn't like as much as one of the other places, there were some leftover slices, and one of the people took them home, and the next day they sent me a note saying that their daughter had eaten those slices, and she had been to some of these other places before and said these were the best ones yet. So it was really funny. It was kind of interesting. Taste is very personal. So every month. Oh, go ahead.
I was just to say, we add the broth until it's absorbed by the rice,
Right.
then you add more.
And how do you know when to add more? It's easy because you just move the rice around a little bit, and when you don't see any liquid, then you add more. So and I like to cover the rice, before when I add the broth. Some people say you add a little time. Well, what if I'm making a lot of risotto, like right now,
Yeah,
right?
I added more
if you
than
add
one
one
ladle.
ladle, that's not going to work, right? And there's tons of broth, so you don't have to worry about that at all. So we are, by the way, we're using roasted asparagus to put into the
Broiled, we put it in the broiler.
we put it in the broiler, and the reason we did that is because it'll just add a little bit more flavor. That's all. And we cut it on the bias, as you can tell, because it looks a little nicer that way when you take a bite.
it.
That's all. Nothing. No big deal. Every month, we're picking out a few products that I like to use on a regular basis, and so everybody's just kind enough to give us those products, and so we can use them for door prizes too. So these are the products that are going to be featured this month. We've got DiCecco linguine. Now, why did I pick DiCecco? Because there's so many different pastas that are available. Because DiCecco has been around for ever. It comes from Italy. If you go to the better quality Italian restaurants who may or may not make their own pasta, or they may make certain shapes but they don't make others, more likely than not they're going to use De Cecco for a dried pasta if they're using dried pasta. And it's because it's just consistent, the quality is always good, it has good flavor, and you got to salt your water properly. You must salt your pasta water in order to get the most out of that pasta. Very important to remember that. This is a little cheat that chefs use all the time, and you can use at home also, and that's just use bouillon cubes if you need some extra flavor and you need it quick. So if you want to make a quick vegetable soup, use a bouillon cube, because you're going to get a lot more flavor in that vegetable soup. And there's a couple of different kinds that are available at everybody's. Rapunzel is a good one, and the Better Than Bouillon is another one that you can use. And there's you can use them in all kinds of things too to perk stuff up. And another couple of suggestions that way, you can, if you don't want to use the bouillon cubes, one of the things that you can add to like vegetable soup when you're cooking it is you can add a really good tamari soy sauce, because it has that umami and it'll perk up the item that it's going into. So what else? We've got something really cool. Mount Tam. This is Rogue River Creamery, and it's the only Rogue River Creamery cheese that everybody's carries, and it is one of their main cheeses that they make. Two women who have been making cheese in it's just north of San Francisco. I always forget exactly where it is, but in Marin. In Petaluma actually is where it's made, but Marin County, right? I think that's right. And they are amazing. They've won tons of national awards, and this is an organic cheese, Mount Tam. I'm going to actually talk to. We should get another one. We should get them to carry another one too, another one of their varieties, because this one. Talk to Lisa. Okay, so anyway, Mount Tam. Somebody's going to walk away with that's going to be nice. You must let it sit out at room temperature. Absolutely key. Otherwise, it won't be creamy. So you've got to let it sit out to room temperature. Very important. And who doesn't like a nice cup of herbal tea, right?
Right.
So this happens to be the brand that we like, Puka. This is just their vanilla chai, but they have all kinds of other. 3-Fennel is a really good one that they make, and they're really seem to be a really good company from what I know about them. And so that's the. Those are the products that we're featuring this month. P-U-K-K-A. Puka. I think it's on the top shelf over there where the teas are. So anyway, we're starting to run out of time here. So you get to stay and watch how we finish the cooking of the risotto, and we'll move the broth so that you can actually see what's going on. So I'll just tell everybody really quickly what we're going to do, so that you know. So Lenora is going to continue stirring this rice. It's looking beautiful. She toasted it at the beginning, as I said, until it took on a little bit of color, not brown or anything like that, but just a little bit of opaqueness, I think would be the right way to say it. And she's going to continue stirring it and adding broth until the broth cooks out, and adding broth till the broth cooks out. Probably about 20 minutes or so is what it takes. And so we only have a few minutes. And she's doing something right there. I hope you saw. She's scraping the bottom to make sure nothing sticks, which is really important. You don't want it sticking.
Yeah, and I'm not used to an electric stovetop.
Right, but you're doing a great job. Really beautiful. Thank you so much for coming and doing this.
My pleasure.
This is really terrific. And I'm sure if you want to do it, Kathy would be happy not to do this.
We want Kathy.
Anyway, so she's going to do that, and then at the end, when she's tested it, she's tried the salt levels, she's tasted the for the consistency of that rice. She's going to turn the heat off. It's really important. She's going to turn the heat off, and then she's going to add butter, room temperature, very tiny chunks, very, very tiny chunks. And I see some of you, yeah, this is like 40 people or whatever, 30 people in here. It's not any butter. It's nothing. You're lucky. I was going to put a lot more in, but Lenora stopped me. So anyway, so there's butter and off heat, okay? And then you want to get Parmigiano Reggiano. Unfortunately, everybody's was out of Parmigiano Reggiano, so we'll see how this is. This is Wisconsin, whatever. It's what that article is all about, Bob. Bob Schrum sent me an article about how Italy has like police that are all over the world looking for products that are trying to act like they're Italian.
Imitate.
Right, exactly. Anyway, this is I think this is the best version that's out there, or one of the better versions. So we'll try it. It doesn't, you know what? If you taste it, it's kind of interesting. It doesn't have any of the depth. That's the key thing that's missing. It doesn't have the depth that Parmigiano Reggiano has. Oh, I see, and we're almost out of time here, right? So, all right. You have anything else to say? So she's going to stir all that in, mantecare. She's going to stir that all in at the end, and she's going to put, maybe we'll put a little olive oil on to serve it,
Yes,
and that's
and then
it.
we add the asparagus in.
Right, and the asparagus in the last 2 to 3 minutes to warm it up. Thank you to everybody's Whole Foods, to Green Building Supply, and to everybody supporting the Lord's Cupboard and is going to be watching that beautiful travelogue on June 1st. And thank you to Fairfield Media Center and Jason Strong. See you on June what? June 4th. Right.
And
Thank
June 1st at the movie.
And June 1st
And
at the
buy
movies,
tickets
right.
tonight.
Right. That's it.
Red taste. Sweet. Sour. So good to taste.